Hi Archie, it's Grandma Scotland here. I just thought that you would like me to read some stories for you. So this one is called Horrid Henry's Rainy Day. And it's about Henry, what Henry gets up to, Horrid Henry gets up to. And it's raining and he's fed up until he decides to write his will. Why should Henry be the only one giving away his treasures? It's much more fun getting stuff from other people. So this is a story about Horrid Henry's Rainy Day. And chapter 1. Horrid Henry was bored. Horrid Henry was fed up. Not good. He'd been banned from the computer for rampaging through our town museum. He'd been banned from watching TV just because he went over just that teeny weeny bit extra after he'd been told to switch it off, straight after Mutant Max. Could he help it if it was an exciting new series about a rebel robot that had started right after? How would he know if it were any good unless he watched some of it? It was completely unfair and all Peter's fault for telling on him. And Mum and Dad were the meanest, most horrible parents in the world, and now he was stuck indoors all day with absolutely nothing to do. The rain splattered down. The house was grey. The world was grey. The universe was grey. I'm bored, wailed Horrid Henry. Read a book, said Mum. Do your homework, said Dad. No, said Horrid Henry. Then tidy your room, said Mum. Unload the dishwasher, said Dad. Empty the bins, said Mum. No way, shrieked Horrid Henry. What was he, a slave? Better keep out of his parents' way, or they'd come up with even more horrible things for him to do. Chapter 2. Horrid Henry stomped up to his boring bedroom and slammed the door. Ah! I hate all his toys. I hate all his music. I hate all his games. Ah! What could he do? No. He could always check to see what Peter's up to. Perfect Peter was sitting in his room, arranging stamps in his stamp album. Peter is a baby, Peter is a baby, jeered Horrid Henry, sticking his head round the door. Don't call me a baby, said Perfect Peter. Okay, Duke of Poop, said Henry. Don't call me Duke, shrieked Peter. Okay, Poopsicle, said Henry. Mom, wailed Peter. Henry called me a Poopsicle. Don't be horrid, Henry, shouted Mum. Stop calling your brother names. Horrid Henry smiled sweetly at Peter. Okay, Peter, 'cause I'm so nice, I'll let you make a list of 10 names that you don't want to be called. And it will cost you £1. £1? Perfect Peter could not believe his ears. Peter would pay much more than that if he had never to be called Poopsicle again. "Is this a trick, Henry?" said Peter. "No," said Henry. "How dare you? I make you a good offer and you accuse me. Well, just for that. Wait, Peter, I accept." He handed Henry a pound coin. Chapter 3. At last all those horrid names would be banned. Henry would never call Peter Duke of Poop again. Peter got out a piece of paper and a pencil. "Now, let's see. What can I put on the list?" thought Peter. Poopsicle, for a start. I hate being called Baby and Nappy Face. And Duke of Poop. Peter wrote and wrote and wrote. "Okay, Henry, here's the list," said Peter. "Names I don't want to be called. 1. Poopsicle. 2. Duke of Poop. 3. Ugly. 4. Nappy Face. 5. Baby. 6. Toad. 7. Smelly Toad. 8. Ugg. 9. Worm. And 10. Wibble Pants." Horrid Henry scanned the list. "Fine pongy pants," said Henry. "Sorry, I meant poopy pants. Or was it smelly nappy?" "Mom," wailed Peter, "Henry's calling me names." "Henry," screamed Mum, "for the last time, can't you leave your brother alone?" Horrid Henry considered. Could he leave that worm alone? "Peter is a frog, Peter is a frog," chanted Henry. "Mom!" screamed Peter. "That's it, Henry," shouted Mum. "No pocket money for a week. Now go to your room and stay there." "Fine," shrieked Henry. "You'll all be sorry when I'm dead." He stomped down the hall and slammed his bedroom door as hard as he could. Why were his parents so mean and horrible? He was hardly bothering Peter at all. Peter was a frog. Henry was only telling the truth. Boy, would they be sorry when he died of boredom stuck up here. If only they'd let them watch a little extra TV, Mum would wail. What would have been so terrible? If only we hadn't made him do chores, Dad would sob. Why didn't I let Henry call me names? Peter would howl. After all, I do have smelly pants. And now it was too late. And we're so sorry, they would shriek. But wait, would they be sorry? Peter would grab his room and all his best toys. Ooh. His arch enemy, stuck-up Steve, would come over and snatch anything he wanted, even his skeleton bank and goo shooter. Peter could invade the Purple Hand Fort, and Henry couldn't stop him. Moody Margaret could hop over the wall and nick his flag. And his biscuits. And his dungeon. Even his super soaker. No! Chapter 4. Horrid Henry went pale. He had to stop those rapacious thieves, but how? I could come back and haunt them, thought Horrid Henry. Yes, that would teach those grave robbers not to mess with me. Ooh, get out of my room, you horrible toad, he would moan at Peter. Touch my goo shooter, and you will be morphed into electroplasm. He groaned spookily from under stuck-up Steve's bed. Ha ha! That would show him. Or he'd pop out from inside Moody Margaret's wardrobe. Give Henry's toys back, you miserable slimy snake, he would rasp. That would teach her a thing or two. Henry smiled, but fun as it would be to haunt people, he'd rather stop horrible enemies snatching his stuff in the first place. Hands off! And then suddenly, Horrid Henry had a brilliant, spectacular idea. Hadn't Mum told him just the other day that when people wrote wills to say who they wanted to get all their stuff when they died? Henry had been thrilled. So, when you die, I get all your money? Henry beamed. Wow! The house would be his, and the car, and he'd be the boss of the TV, because it would be his too. And the only shame was, couldn't you just give it all to me now? Asked Henry. Henry! Snapped Mum. Don't be horrid. There was no time to lose. He had to write out a will immediately. Horrid Henry sat down at his desk and grabbed some paper. My will. Warning, do not read unless I'm dead. I mean it. If you're reading this, it's because I'm dead and you aren't. I wish you were dead and I wasn't, so I could have all your stuff. So it's not fair. First of all, to anyone thinking of snatching my stuff just because I'm dead, beware. Anyone who doesn't do what I say will get haunted by a bloodless and boneless ghoul, namely me. So there. Now the hard bit, thought Horrid Henry. Who should he give his things to? Who was deserving enough? Peter, you are a worm, and a toad, and an ugly baby nappy face, smelly, wibble, pants, popsicle. I leave you, that toad should really get something. But Peter was his brother after all. I leave you my sweet wrappers and a muddy twig. That was more than Peter deserved still. Steve, you are stuck up and horrible and the world's worst cousin. You can have a pair of my socks. You can choose the blue ones with the holes or the falling down orange ones. Margaret, you nitface, I give you the purple hand flag to remember me by. Nod. You can have 2 radishes and the knight with the chopped off head. And keep your paws off my grisly grub box. Or else. Miss Battleaxe, you are my worst teacher ever. I leave you a broken pencil. Aunt Ruby, you can have your lime green cardigan back that you gave me for Christmas. So far he wasn't doing so well, giving away all of his good things. Ralph, you can have my only go shooter, but only if you give me your football and your bike. And your computer game, Slime Goals. That was more like it. After all, why should he be the only one writing a will? Chapter 5. It was certainly a lot more fun thinking about getting stuff from other people than giving away his own treasures. In fact, wouldn't he be better off helping others by telling them what he wanted? Wouldn't it be awful if rich Aunt Ruby left him some of old Steve's clothes in her will, thinking that he would be delighted? Better write her at once. Dear Aunt Ruby, I'm leaving you something really great in my will, so make sure you leave me loads of cash in yours. Your favourite nephew, Henry. Now, Steve, Henry was leaving him an old pair of holey socks, but Steve didn't have to know that, did he? For all Henry knew, Steve loved holey socks. So he wrote to Steve. Dear Steve, you know your new blue racing bike with the silver trim? Well, when you're dead, it won't be any use to you. So please leave it to me in your will. Your favourite cousin, Henry. P.S. By the way, no need to wait till you're dead. You can give it to me now. Right, Mum and Dad. When they were in the old people's home, they hardly need anything. A rocking chair and a blanket each would do them fine. So how would Dad's music system look in his bedroom? And where could he put Mum's clock radio? Henry had always liked the chiming clock on their mantelpiece and the picture of the blackbird. Better go and check to see where he can put them. Chapter 6. Henry went into Mum and Dad's room and grabbed an armload of stuff. He staggered to his bedroom and dumped everything on the floor. Then he went back for a second helping. Stumbling and staggering under his heavy burden, Horrid Henry swayed down the hall and crashed into Dad. "What are you doing?" said Dad. "That's mine." "And those are mine," said Mum. "What is going on?" shrieked Mum and Dad. "I was just checking how all this stuff will look in my room when you're in the old people's home," said Horrid Henry. "I'm not there yet," said Mum. "Put everything back," said Dad. Horrid Henry scowled. Here he was, just trying to think ahead, and he gets told off. "Well, just for that, I won't leave you any of my nights in my will," said Henry. "Honestly, people were so selfish." And that's the end of Horrid Henry's Rainy Day. I hope you enjoyed that, Archie. I'll read you another one another day. Okay? I love you, darling.